We are starting a brand new series called The Fall Feast and the Second Coming of Yeshua. There will be many surprises in this series. Some are not in the mainstream modern view of these feasts. As a matter of fact, it will be contrary to many people's idea about these feasts, and we will also point out specifically on how a modern Christian should understand about these feasts. Traditionally speaking, the spring and the fall feasts are an integral part of the ancient religious tradition in Israel, started thousands of years ago. These yearly feasts symbolize God's provision and faithfulness to His people, a story that dates back centuries before the time of Yeshua. Even Yeshua himself celebrated many of these festivals, honoring them and personally fulfilling them, especially to the end times, or the day of the Lord, Yom Yehovah. The fall feasts are an integral part of understanding the second coming of Yeshua. Now, these ancient feasts were instituted to teach about the plan of God and how He will bring final redemption to mankind. They can serve as a window into the mysteries of God's timing and His ultimate purpose for us. Through these feasts, we gain insight into the future return of Yeshua and what it means for us individually and collectively, as well as having many prophetic implications for Christians today. However, before we start, it is necessary to dispel a misconception about how Western Christians label these feasts. Some call these feasts Jewish feasts or Israel's feast. While these popular titles are circulating among Christian teachings, but they are not biblically sound. In Leviticus chapter 23 verse 2, the Lord told Moses, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord," or in Hebrew, Moadi Yehovah, "which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feast," Moadi. Now, if it is labeled as the Jewish feast or the Israel's feast, then it concerns only the Jewish nation. But it's called the Lord's feast, Moadi Yehovah, according to Leviticus 23, verse 2. Then it concerns you and me and the rest of the mankind. Now, following the same train of thought, can we say that the Lord's Prayer belongs to Christian only? Yet, a closer examination reveals that Yeshua taught the Lord's Prayer to a Jewish audience. No Gentiles present. Now, what happens if Matthew renamed the Lord's Prayer as the Jewish prayer of the Lord or an Israel's prayer? Can it be accepted? And the name Yeshua, which means He will save, from Matthew chapter 1 verse 21, makes sense only in Hebrew context and not in Greek as Jesus or Latin as Jesus or English Jesus. And the name Joshua, the Old Testament name of Jesus, which in Hebrew is Yehoshua, means Yah saves or God saves, and God will save or God is salvation. But what other evidence are there to dispel this myth? In order to solve the puzzle, we will need to go back to Genesis chapter 1 to start our investigation. In Genesis chapter 1, in verse 14, and here's a verse, "And God saith, Let luminaries be in the expanse of the heavens, to make a separation between the day and the night. Then they have been for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years." But where is the verse does it indicate a feast? It is in the phrase, "and for seasons," or in Hebrew, "ul moadim," which can be translated as appointments. And the word shows up again in Exodus. And here's the verse, "You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread, and you shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded you at the time appointed." Again, the word ul moadim. it showed up again. In the month of Aviv, for in it you came out of Egypt, none shall appear before me empty. Exodus chapter 23, verse 15. Now the phrase, the time appointed, or Ur Moadim, is exactly the same word as and for seasons. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. Therefore, when God sets the luminaries, meaning the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky, they're not just for the purpose of dividing day from night or for us to keep track of the sense of directions. And they're also used to start a new calendar system to keep track of the festival days or the appointments between God and his people. First to the Jewish nation, but later the mysteries hidden in these feasts will be revealed to the entire world. It is also important to know that the Jewish nation or the nation of Israel is not yet in existence in Genesis chapter 1 verse 14, but the prophetic concept of feast have already been birthed back in the first week of creation to the entire mankind.